Reading a street map of Atascadero. This map feels immediately familiar. Dense street names, a highway cutting through the center, residential grids on either sides, parks, creeks, and civic landmarks quietly woven in. This is not just a tourist map or a branding map, it is a functional city reference map designed to explain how a small American city actually works on the ground. And once you slow down, it tells a surprisingly rich story. First impression, a city organized around one spine. The first thing that stands out is the US Route 101. It runs north south through the map, clearly emphasized, acting as the city's primary structural element. Everything else relates to it. Streets bend toward it, commercial zones cluster near it, and the neighborhoods arrange themselves around its access points. This tells us something fundamental about Atascadero. This is a highway oriented city, not in the sense of sprawl, but in the sense of connectivity. The highway is not a boundary, it is a backbone. The highway as divider and connector. Notice how Route 101 both divides and connects. On one level, it separates east and west Ascadero. On another, it brings the entire city into the regional system, linking it to Paso Robles to the north and the San Luis Obispo to the south. The map shows this dual role clearly. Overpasses and interchanges appear as key nodes. Local streets feed into the highway rather than crossing it casually. Commercial activity intensifies near access points. This is a classic small city infrastructure logic, and the map captures it cleanly. Street patterns and development history. Now look closely at the street network. Near the city center, streets are denser and more irregular. As you move outwards, the layout becomes more curvilinear, with longer blocks and fewer intersections. This shift tells a historical story. Older development closer to the center, newer residential areas expanding outward, planning responding to terrain rather than enforcing a strict grid. Maps like this allow you to read urban growth phases without dates or annotations. Geometry becomes history. Creeks as quiet organizers. Threading through the map are subtle blue lines representing creeks. They do not dominate visually, but they matter. These waterways influence where street stops or curve, where parks and open space appear, where development thins or pauses. In many California cities, creeks act as invisible planners. They shape land use quietly, often preserved as green corridors or flood buffers. The map does not highlight them aggressively, but their presence explains much of the surrounding layout. Green space as civic balance. Scattered throughout the map are green areas representing parks, cemeteries, and open spaces. These are not large destination parks, they are neighborhood scale green spaces integrated into the street fabric rather than set apart. Places like Pine Mountain Cemetery, local parks and reserves serve as spatial relief. They bring up density, provide orientation points, and anchor communities. On a map like this, green does not shout, it stabilizes. Labels under pressure. This map is text heavy, and that is intentional. Street maps for cities like Atascadero prioritize name recognition over visual minimalism. Residents and service providers need precision, not atmosphere. Notice how street names are tightly packed but aligned carefully. City name labeling is prominent but not overpowering. Landmarks are named sparingly, not exhaustively. Typography here is disciplined. It exists to be read quickly, not admired. Implicit zoning without boundaries. Even without zoning overlays, you can infer land use. Denser street names and tighter blocks suggest residential neighborhoods. Wider roads and fewer intersections suggest commercial or mixed use corridors. Open spaces and irregular shapes suggest protected or civic land. This is implicit zoning, communicated through pattern rather than color coding. Good reference maps let users draw these conclusions themselves. Scale that matches daily life. At this scale, Atascadero feels navigable. Nothing seems far. Neighborhoods appear connected, the city reads as cohesive rather than fragmented. This matters. Maps shape perception. A map that makes a city feel understandable encourages confidence, movement, and use. This one succeeds by keeping detail high and abstraction low. What this map leaves out: there are no traffic volumes, elevation contours, parcel boundaries, branding, or advertising. Those layers would overwhelm the map's purpose. This map answers a simple practical question: how is this city laid out, and how do we move within it? Everything else is secondary. How a map like this is created. Maps like this was built using municipal street centerline data, hydrographic layers for creeks, public land and park boundaries, manual label placement, and scale specific simplification. The challenge is not collecting data, it is managing density. Every additional label increases cognitive load, every omission risks usability. This map balances those demands carefully. What this map is really showing. Beyond streets and highways, this map reveals a city shaped by regional connectivity, growth guided by infrastructure, neighborhoods defined by subtle barriers and links, and a balance between development and open space. This is not a dramatic city, and the map does not try to make it one. Instead, it communicates reliability, structure, and clarity. Not every map needs to be cinematic. Some maps exist to support everyday life, to help people find places, understand their city, and move confidently through it. This map of Atascadero does exactly that, by quietly revealing how roads, creeks, and neighborhoods fit together. It turns a complex urban system into something legible and human, and that ultimately is one of the most important roles a map can play. If you want a custom map developed just like this, reach out to mapsandlocations.com and we'll help you craft the perfect map for your business and personal needs for a very small and an affordable price. Thank you for watching. Look out for the next one.